Hello and welcome to this cozy, slow look around Shing Jea Island in Guild Wars 2. My name is Amy, I am a writer, and as of this video, I also make ASMR content in the fantasy gaming sphere. So thank you very much for joining me. Today we are going to be taking a look around this first zone of Canthan in the End of Dragons expansion in Guild Wars 2. The character you see here is my ranger, Venom. I have been playing her since release, and I do tend to play rangers or hunters or ranged classes in every MMO I pick up. But Venom really is one of my favourites. She is very close to my heart, so I thought she was the perfect character to get started with today. And you might just see at the bottom of the screen a tail keeps waving into view. That is the pet I am using today. His name is Spot and he is a tiger. There is a little bit of a Star Trek reference there for anyone who recognises it. But I do quite frequently play with the cat pets as a ranger. That really doesn't have anything to do with whether they are useful for my build. I just really like cats. So let's get started with our exploration of the island. I am going to keep the interface off for as much of this exploration as I can, just so you can soak in these fantastic vistas and the ambience of the place. I've been playing Guild Wars for a really long time, and the original Shing Jea Island in Guild Wars 1 was one of my absolute favourite maps. Now, unfortunately, the part of the map that I enjoyed the most has not made it into Guild Wars 2. But I think what we do have is really special, and I really like the atmosphere of the monastery particularly, which is where we are starting off here. One of the things that the improved graphics of Guild Wars 2 has allowed is all these fantastic waterfalls. They are all over the island. We will be seeing a lot more as we continue this journey. And I really do like water in games in general. It's very atmospheric. Now let's take a look at the map. I think we are going to head out into the training grounds first. We will then head east, possibly on the skiff, which is the boat you can sail. I'm really hoping to get to this island here. I've had a brief look at it before and it is full of cats. And as I said before, I do definitely like cats. So we'll have a look there and then we will see where we end up. Obviously, as soon as I look at a map, I plan my route and then I immediately forget which way I'm going. I'm sure I'm not the only person who does this in MMOs. So I'm just double checking here, but no, this isn't the way to the training ground. I can see that now. There is a crashed airship down in that hollow. It's quite an impressive sight and I have explored it before, but it's not where we're heading today. Double checking the map, we actually wanted to go through that archway that I was stood in front of before, so let's head back up there. I will say the colourfulness of this part of Guild Wars 2 is probably not for everyone. I do recognise that it is atmospheric, but not in the way that all gamers are looking for. I do really enjoy it, and I like the variety in Guild Wars 2 as a whole. Typically it is snowy and mountainous areas that I love the most, but I think this is a close second. I do love the lushness and the atmosphere of this island, the sheer number of plants, the fabulous cherry blossom. It is the season of cherry blossom in my part of the world as I filmed this, but it does not last very long here in the north of England at all, so I adore seeing it in games because spring is absolutely my favourite time of year. So we're here at the training grounds. Again, wonderful, wonderful views. I really just love studying the vistas in this part of the map, all the colour. Also, I'm filming this in the night cycle of the game, so all the lanterns are really showing up beautifully. I'm not actually sure where this stairway goes. This is very inviting though. I do also love anything that looks lush and mossy in games, as in real life to be honest. So let's head down here and see if we can get to the shoreline. Spot is with us every step of the way, of course. He is our trusty companion. One of the really interesting things about this part of Guild Wars 2 is the way that aspects of Canthan in the first game, like the Jade, have really been dialed up to 11. That really is a stunning view. And again, the water. I'm a big fan of all the bamboo too. I'm sure we're going to be seeing more of that as we explore the island later. So let's have a little look up this channel. Of course, the original Guild Wars did not allow swimming, whereas it's a fairly major part of gameplay and exploration in Guild Wars 2. I could honestly spend such a long time just exploring the coastline of this map. I found both in Guild Wars 2 and in Elder Scrolls Online that the coasts are really stunning. I think traditionally they were ignored or missed in a lot of MMOs, but there are so many fantastic points, like this one here where we see Orion's Crystal Cave, but just in general where the water meets all these waterfalls and little rocky inlets, the bamboo groves, the beautiful flower petals on the water. The developers here have really made the most of every little nook of this island. Right, it is time for a little bit of sailing. I will say I am really not very good with the skiff. My steering is atrocious. So if we crash, that is absolutely player error. So let's head back up this way. I want to go past these waterfalls we saw before. And let's go past this blossom tree on the island. That's lovely. Look at that detail of the camera getting wet. I can't actually remember where all the waterways on this island lead. Like I said, I haven't spent a huge amount of time with the skiff or sailing around or fishing. So this is going to be a bit of exploration for me as well. Let's see where we end up. We're going to sail past the fishing holes today. I'm not planning to do any fishing in this session. I do generally really like fishing in games, although I prefer it to be a little bit gentler than it is in Guild Wars 2. They have tried to turn it into a bit of a mini game, and I have to admit it's not my favourite activity. I much prefer the fishing in ESO or in World of Warcraft. I will probably come back to it in Guild Wars 2 though, because like I said, I do love fishing in games. Now let's see where we are going. I don't really have a plan. I hadn't actually intended to come this far north on the skiff, but these little waterways are just too appealing to ignore. Again, as with the coastline, I think every little detail here has been taken care of. All the decoration on the bridges, all the points where the greenery comes down to the water. Look at those lanterns overhead. It is so beautiful. And I think it really cements that Shing Jea Island is still one of my favourite areas of Guild Wars. Nearly crashed there, I just avoided it. I think we are now heading back south again. Or will be very soon. Oh, this is actually where we were before. That took me by surprise. Okay, let's head out across the bay. And I think it is time to head towards the fabled Cat Island. I'm not sure if that's what it's actually called, but I can promise it has cats on it, so let's head that way. There was a very extravagant glider or mount going past, I'm not sure what that was. I do find that Canthan has been one of the quieter areas of Guild Wars 2 that I've played recently. Now, I've never actually finished End of Dragons. Oh, there's Cat Island. I've never actually finished End of Dragons. It's something I'm working on at the moment. But a lot of parts of this game, even ones that have been out for many years, are quite busy when you visit them. Canthan, in contrast, I don't feel there's a massive player base here. There are people doing the large events, but perhaps not as many as you would find in other maps. I am completely failing to get out of the skiff here. Okay, I'm going to have to turn the interface on to get out. Right, let's head. Yes, if we go up this hill and along the cliff top, we will be at our destination. More fantastic cherry blossom here, although I was hoping for a little bit more of a view there. For the first time, we find ourselves in combat. I am relying quite heavily on my memory of the skills without being able to see them here, and also on the lovely Spot. He is doing most of the heavy lifting for me. I am going to keep combat to a minimum during this exploration, but as you can see, it's impossible to avoid it entirely. Guild Wars 2 does not have many routes, in my experience, that you can run along for long distances without getting into combat, and that is really heightened in later releases. But I will keep it to a minimum. This is not quite what I expected from this path. We seem to be dropping down into a cave, possibly. I think this is Zendai. It's a temple or something along those lines. There is a fantastic bamboo forest north of here. I really like the bamboo areas of the island. Now this looks more promising. Yes, if we head over this bridge, we will have reached the cats. I've only come to this island before by flying in on my sky scale, so coming across on the bridge is a nice change. Later releases of Guild Wars 2 have really prioritised use of the sky scale, but that was less prevalent. It perhaps didn't even exist when End of Dragons came out. I'm not sure about my timeline there. So here are some cats, and they are massive. I think they're actually bigger than Spot. These cats are taking me by surprise, I have to admit. Why are they so huge? I don't know. Oh, here's a more sensibly sized tabby cat. That's what I was expecting. I obviously didn't spend a huge amount of time here when I explored before. Another normal sized cat. Looks like a small version of Spot. And another massive cat. Well, they all enjoy being petted, so that's nice. We love to see the love hearts going up. And here is a little shrine to cap off this cat island. I do really like the sense that every map in Guild Wars 2 is inhabited. This one in particular is absolutely full of gates and shrines and little fishing huts. We have the bridges across to the smaller islands. There are docks for skiffs everywhere you go. And it does feel like a place where the inhabitants have spread out over time. It has that sense of history, of lots of structures being built all over the island as people have spread out. So we'll say goodbye to the massive cats and head back over the bridge. I think my plan now is to head up through Zendai. We will hopefully get a look at more of the bamboo. I think it's going to be quite hard to avoid the ghosts. We will run past where possible, but I do have a recollection, yeah, there they go, that this is quite an enemy heavy part of the map. beautifully, beautifully designed though. I really love that temple in the middle, and again, the sense that it has been there for a long time. It is heavily covered in vines and plants, everything is mossy. The atmosphere is really fantastic. Once again, Spot is saving me here because I can't see my skills. As I said, I have played Venom for a long time and I don't change my build very often, so I do have a fairly good idea of what I'm doing just by memory. But as soon as you turn off the interface, you do realise how much you rely on it. There are a lot of things I would normally click on without thinking about what number they are on the keyboard, and I'm really having to think about it now. So let's head into the temple. I really love this, the sense of age, the way the steps are cracked, and yet it is still inhabited. We have the amazing bells, all the pots and shrines and paintings and candles. It is so beautiful. And I say this also as a former archaeology student. Anything that is related to religion, to history, any kinds of ruins found out in a natural environment, I am fairly well obsessed with them. So I do love it when games take on that kind of atmosphere. I'm doing my best here to not engage in combat too much because I'd really prefer to just run around and explore, but these ghosts are making it quite difficult for me. We have another shrine here. I love that cherry tree off to the left. Again, incredible detail and atmosphere. And let's now head into the bamboo forest. I'm already being attacked. The ghosts really do have it in for me today, which I did fear might happen if I came this way, but I simply can't resist. Let's see how many we can run past. There's the raptor taxi. You can use the raptors to transport you around the island. It is free to use. Honestly, I spent quite a lot of time when I first arrived in this map just zooming backwards and forwards on the raptors. This is despite the fact, of course, that I do actually have my own raptor. But there is something about allowing the game to take you on its own route that I really enjoy. I also always enjoyed the flying routes in World of Warcraft. There are times when I would simply get on the back of the hippogriff, I think it is, or an eagle, and just fly from point to point. We might have just about escaped the ghosts. Another fantastic waterfall. I don't remember so much water in the Shing Jea Island of Guild Wars 1. I don't know if I'm misremembering that or if that is simply down to the technical capabilities of the two games. Now I'm really hoping to get across to this side of the map. I love snowy places, as I said. There isn't a huge amount of snow on the island, and I suspect in all of Canthan. There was much more in the original Guild Wars, but here it has been largely left out, which is a little bit of a shame. So let's hop on the sky scale for a little soar under the bridge. This is very satisfying. Flying in Guild Wars 2 is not always as fluid as in something like World of Warcraft, because you are essentially doing an extended glide rather than flying in the traditional sense. Having said that, swooping along the rivers and canyons of this map is still very, very satisfying. I would also like to point out here that my sky scale has been named Frosty. You can thank my 7-year-old daughter for that. So we will take Frosty across this section, mostly to avoid the bandits, I think they might be, that we've just passed. And as we are now onto the northern shore of the island, I think we will see about getting back in the skiff. So let's sail a little bit further and explore some more of the island. There's again this real lived-in sense. All the buildings along the shoreline, we have other boats moored everywhere we go. All these little fishing buoys dotted in the water. I think this section we are going past now is something for fish farming or industry. I can't actually remember. There's a fantastic pagoda here up on top of the bridge. We may go that way, heading to Jaya Bluffs in a bit. I was actually hoping to get out of the skiff here and climb up, but it doesn't look possible. I think these docks really are just for show. They're somewhere that the fishermen in the game would use rather than a useful point for players to get out of the water. So we will head up onto this shore instead. I keep hoping that guiding the skiff onto the shore will automatically disembark, and it doesn't happen, so that's quite embarrassing. So let's head out on foot again. I think that is a bit safer. I'm aiming for the bridge we were just looking at with the pagoda in the middle. I'm not sure if you can run right across or if there are doors in the way. I think if we follow this road here, it will lead us where we want to go. Again, this part of the island is just so lush and green. I really find it very inviting, and that is the same for me in a lot of starter zones in MMOs. I'm going to be playing some World of Warcraft in a future video, and I'm actually really looking to starting over and seeing some of my favourite zones again. I think we'll take to the skies here because there's quite a lot of enemies, and I don't actually want to fight through all these Aether Blades. So Frosty will helpfully take us past the enemies. Here is a bridge. This is not where I was expecting to come out. Ah, we've come further south. That's fine. I wanted to get to Jaya Bluffs. Here we are, as promised. We just haven't gone on the road I thought I was going on. One thing I have noticed making this video is that the interface also disappears on the map when you turn it off, which is a little detail that I really like. There is something really immersive about playing any kind of RPG with nothing else on the screen. Obviously, it's not always practical. You do sometimes need to see what you're doing, look at your menus. Oh, something is attacking me with a bomb. I really thought there were only wild animals out here, so I'm not sure what that was. My only regret about this part of the map is that it is not bigger. I really like this combination of the cherry blossom, the snow, the pines, and the fantastic Canthan architecture. I would have loved to have seen a lot more of that in this game. But as far as I can tell, we really only get this one little sliver of the island with any snow at all. Thankfully, Guild Wars 2 in general does make up for that. There are plenty of mountainous zones, and I will be exploring some of those in a future video. But this does seem like a fitting place to finish our exploration because I love the snow so much. So we are coming now to the Jaya Bluffs Raptor taxi. Another fantastic view back at the pagoda. Oh, before we go, look at all the variety of tengu in this game. These fluffy ones particularly, I do not know what kind of bird that is supposed to be. I struggle to take them seriously. I really want to give them a hug. I suspect they would not be too keen on that though. Okay, let's get on the Raptor taxi. We will head to let's see where we're going to head. Let's head to the monastery. That took a lot of thought. So, this is where I am going to leave you. We're going to take a gentle stroll on the Raptor back to Shing Jea Monastery, taking one last look at the island. And I am going to leave you here to enjoy the ambience of the island, the fantastic sounds and music and scenery of this zone that I enjoy so much. I hope you have enjoyed exploring with me. I would love to hear what your favourite parts of the island are, or of Canthan in general. And I hope this has given you a chance to wind down and relax in this really stunning part of one of my favourite games. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you again next time.